Paige Hoffpauir. Welcome to American Ground Radio.
Thank you, Stephen. Hi, Lewis.
So nice to have you here. Paige, you are running for Bessie District 4.
I am.
This is your first campaign for public office, right?
Yes, it is.
Why did you decide to start getting involved in politics, and specifically why Bessie District 4?
Well, I don't plan on getting involved in politics. I plan on running a race for our children. And I got the call at 10:30 at night and by Walter Lee, former superintendent of Caddo Parish and DeSoto Parish, and also former Bessie board member. And he said, Paige, have you ever considered running for Bessie board? There's an opportunity. And I said, well, let me look it over. I looked it over. I said, absolutely. My heart leapt within me. And I got on the road the next morning, 9 a.m., headed to Baton Rouge and qualified.
So what is it you want to accomplish on the Bessie board? Why is this something? You said your heart leapt. Why?
Because our children need freedom. We have got to stand up for our children. We have got to put the power back in the hands of the parents in free choice of curriculum and school.
Your kids, they're a little bit older, yeah?
Yeah.
And you've had some go through high school. What did you learn as a parent that makes you think this is something you can apply on the Bessie board?
Well, I tell you what, I've always stood up for children. I've led my community and my neighbors in caring for our children and the children's all over this city. My children witnessed me do that. In their schools, I would look over all their materials, and anything that was not appropriate, I put my foot down. I stand for truth every day. And at the end of the day, that's what our children have to be fed for them to grow in their God-given potential.
Let me ask you about that. You say if you saw something that was not appropriate, you put your foot down.
Yeah.
You're talking about in homework papers, you'd see stuff come home that not appropriate for the kids, not appropriate for school?
I am so conservative and so for the Word of God that anything that stands against it, I will call out. It could be just things in our culture, things that, our holidays. It can be things that, for instance, I didn't want my child to learn about Edgar Allan Poe. If Hitler was an incredible literary genius, do you think I'd want my child to learn about Hitler's awesome writings? No.
He was apparently a very amateurish artist, so I guess you don't have any Hitler paintings at home.
Well, no, but the point is, we've got to give power back to the parents because they know their children, and they have been designed by God to have the authority to train up their children in the way they should go, not the state government, not the federal government. And you really have to watch out for candidates that are supported by big money, because there is an agenda against our children, and we as common citizens have got to stand up.
Is that what you're hearing as you campaign across the district and you're visiting with voters? What are some of the most important concerns that you're hearing?
Well, Lewis, our school system is failing. It's failing our teachers. Their hands are tied. They are not given the freedom in the classroom or the support to deal with the situation that the children are coming in. They're not even given the liberty to teach them the truth. They're given carved out conversations that they have to if we could see what was happening in the classroom, we would understand why the confusion is coming out into the city streets. These kids don't know what to do because they're not being given the liberty to learn truth and actually be encouraged in the fundamentals of education, which would just support what the parent would want and see happening in the child, and it would support what God has naturally designed to grow in the potential of that child. That's why we need moral citizens to be given the truth in the classroom.
So when you say they're not given the liberty, can you expand on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, we've taken God's name out of our schools. We teach our children not to say his name. But I tell you what, the same God that led our forefathers here against the dictatorship of King George III is the same God that has a covenant relationship with this United States of America. And he gave our forefathers the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. And all of those are for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that includes our children.
Paige, we got about 40 seconds here left. One of the complaints I've heard from people voting on this race in particular is that there aren't people running for Bessie Board who have actually a background in education. You or your candidate, the opposition. What is it in your background that you think really sets you up to be the best candidate for this?
Well, my son is attending Hillsdale College right now in Michigan. He graduated above 4.0 in the Gateway program at Byrd High School. My daughter is at Byrd High School. She is taking a tough curriculum by choice. But the Word of God is not accessible to her, and they require her to stay in the classroom for 7 hours a day. So that was supplemented, of course, by me and my husband in our household. That should be accessible to every child if they want it. That's why free school choice will be good for the public schools, the private schools, homeschool. For instance, there's a woman in a Grand Mall here in Louisiana. Her child goes to a free school choice curriculum in Santa Monica, California. The child, by 10 years old, speaks 3 languages, takes surfing classes, and is in the violin and piano of the orchestra.
Paige, I got to cut you off. Paige Hoffpauir, running for Bessie Board, District 4. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to American Ground Radio.